Good evening. Today we're going to be reading John 18:28 through 19:16. This is the first part of 19:16. You can find this on page 904 in your pew Bibles. Now in this passage, we have Jesus coming before Pilate for crimes that he is innocent of to begin with. And we're going to see an irony develop throughout this passage over the authority that Christ holds over his kingdom. It's going to first start with the Jewish leaders. They pursued Jesus to the death, yet now they come to Pilate's house, unwilling to enter for fear of becoming unclean by entering the house of a Gentile, acting as if their hands are clean from the night before. This continues as the Jews come before Pilate with a guilty man in their eyes, but unwilling to say what the crime Jesus has committed is. They claim to have the authority to deem the man guilty, but they don't have the authority to administer punishment. So they shift the burden over to Roman hands, and in doing so, they give Pilate a choice. They give Pilate the authority to present this choice to the Jews, to release Barabbas or to release Jesus. We further see a subversion of Christ's authority as he is put in the place of a guilty man instead of left alone as an innocent man. Jesus embodies authentic kingship in this passage, and he's mocked cruelly for it. The Roman soldiers who are flogging him, who are beating him, they call him King of the Jews, intending to mock him for something that is true in its own sense. They provide him a purple robe and a crown of thorns as an attempt again to mock his claims to kingship, but only providing even greater images of his sovereignty. Pilate claims a false authority over Christ's body, over his life, over the ability to condemn him to death, and Christ admonishes him. He reminds him, "You would have no authority over me at all unless it had been given you from above." So at this point, truth has been so perverted and so constantly questioned that Pilate comes forth with the question, what is truth? Unable to recognize the truth standing before him. Christ is king, yet not of an earthly realm, but of an eternal kingdom, which he soon establishes through the cross. In this moment, the world's judgment falters, yet Christ's quiet authority endures, soon to be revealed in the sacrifice of the king. Let us read. Then they led Jesus from the house of Caiaphas to the governor's headquarters. It was early morning. They themselves did not enter the governor's headquarters so that they would not be defiled, but could eat the Passover. So Pilate went outside to them and said, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" They answered him, "If this man were not doing evil, we would not have delivered him over to you." Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and judge him by your own law." The Jews said to him, "It is not lawful for us to put anyone to death." This was to fulfill the word that Jesus had spoken to show by what kind of death he was going to die. So Pilate entered his headquarters again and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me?" Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from the world." Then Pilate said to him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" After he had said this, he went back outside to the Jews and told them, "I find no guilt in him, but you have a custom that I should release one man for you at the Passover. So do you want me to release to you the king of the Jews?" They cried out again, "Not this man, but Barabbas." Now Barabbas was a robber. Then Pilate took Jesus and flogged him, and the soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head and arrayed him in a purple robe. They came up to him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews," and struck him with their hands. Pilate went out again and said to them, "See, I am bringing him out to you that you may know that I find no guilt in him." So Jesus came out, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. Pilate said to them, "Behold the man." When the chief priests and the officers saw him, they cried out, "Crucify him, crucify him." And Pilate said to them, "Take him yourselves and crucify him, for I find no guilt in him." The Jews answered him, "We have a law, and according to that law he ought to die because he has made himself the Son of God." When Pilate heard this statement, he was even more afraid. He entered his headquarters again and said to Jesus, "Where are you from?" But Jesus gave him no answer. So Pilate said to him, "You will not speak to me? Do you not know that I have authority to release you and authority to crucify you?" Jesus answered him, "You would have no authority over me at all unless it had been given you from above. Therefore, he who delivered me over to you has the greater sin." From then on, Pilate sought to release him, but the Jews cried out, "If you release this man, you are not Caesar's friend. Everyone who makes himself a king opposes Caesar." So when Pilate heard these words, he brought Jesus out and sat down in the judgment seat at a place called the Stone Pavement, and in Aramaic, Gabbatha. Now it was the day of preparation for the Passover. It was about the 6th hour. He said to the Jews, "Behold your king." They cried out, away with him, crucify him." Pilate said to them, "Shall I crucify your king?" The chief priests answered, "We have no king but Caesar." So he delivered him over to them to be crucified. Amen.